For more than 1,300 years, a cathedral church dedicated to St. Paul, the apostle to the Gentiles, has stood upon the summit of Ludgate Hill, the highest point in the whole of the great city of London. This present magnificent edifice, familiar and beloved to all real Londoners, whose dome is probably the most famous in the world, is actually the third of three great churches which have stood upon this sacred spot and witnessed the passing of the centuries. The first, built by Ethelbert, King of Kent in the year 607, survived over 450 years, but was accidentally destroyed by fire in 1087. The second may be seen in the background of this famous old print of Latimer preaching at old St. Paul's Cross. It was an enormous and magnificent building, with a spire 489 feet high. It lasted nearly 6 centuries, but perished in the Great Fire of London in 1666. The rebuilding of St. Paul's as we know it today was begun in 1675, taking 35 years to complete. Its architect was none other than that prolific genius, the great Sir Christopher Wren, who laid the foundation stone himself. Of all great English cathedrals, none is so difficult of access on the outside, from the camera's point of view, as St. Paul's. From the bottom of Ludgate Hill, it is almost invisible, with the exception of the famous dome, so submerged has it become in the sea of shops, banks, and newspaper offices that represent our modern commerce. It is the dome we glimpse again as we peer down Watling Street, or tiny Cannon Alley. If we do a little climbing, we are rewarded with the dome again, and half the towers, with a glimpse of the gables of the western front and of the south transept. While if we are really persevering, a different viewpoint gives us even a better result. But if one has a feeling of frustration on the outside, there can be none within. So let us climb those famous steps and enter by the main doors. Our gaze is at once enchanted by the vision that confronts us. Long, clean lines guide our eyes right up to the distant high altar. The nave in which we stand consists of 4 bays on either side, and high above the arches runs a cornice. From an elevated position on a level with the top of the cornice is a gallery behind a modern railing of wrought iron. Overhead are the great transverse arches of the ceiling of the nave. Moving directly eastward towards the choir, we come to Sir Christopher Wren's architectural miracle, the great central dome. Here, 8 solid piers and 8 mighty arches support the cornice of the famous Whispering Gallery. Let us take a sweep up to the lofty circular heights above us, where in greater detail is that curious and mysterious architectural accident, the Whispering Gallery, where the softest whisper makes its circuit of the dome and returns to the ear of the speaker. Above the gallery rise first the drum and then a row of pilasters. Above the pilasters is the inner dome of plastered brick. And then, almost as though he considered this just child's play, Wren completed his tour de force by adding a cone of brick, supporting a stone lantern, and ending in a gilded ball and cross. The whole gigantic burden resting finally and miraculously upon the 8 solid piers. Here let us pause a moment and consider the superb beauty of the dome area. The space and vastness are things at which to marvel and stand in awe. And now, moving eastward again, we arrive at the choir and high altar. This, by many, is considered the most beautiful part of the cathedral. The fine altar is made of ebony and brass, though occasionally hidden from view by a beautifully embroidered frontal. The great bronze candlesticks are reproductions from originals said to have been formerly in old St. Paul's. To the northwest of the choir is a portion of the organ case, and directly beneath it, the stalls of the Archdeacon of London and other canons. To the right of the high altar, and at the end of the south choir stalls, is the bishop's throne, magnificently carved and surmounted by a mitre. Before leaving this part of the